You're hanging out in the House of Sunny podcast, where it's always sunny, mostly because of your host, comedian and YouTuber, Sunny Roman. Want to know what Sunny and her friends are thinking about this week? Well, here she is, Sunny Roman.
Welcome, I'm here with sidekick Doug from The Rational Capitalist. Hey, Doug.
Hello.
And newsreader Ashley. No guest today. Oh, hi, Ashley.
Oh, hi.
No guest today. I'm just going to fly with my crew. I'm back from Hawaii, so we'll talk about that when we get started here. And then we're going to talk about Jordan Peterson's book, which I'm reading, the FBI scandal and Russia. You can call the show and leave a voice message at 707-681-5834, and we will play whatever you say on the air if it's good, especially if you tell us a joke, which we're going to do in a little bit. But first, hey, you guys, some breaking news. Doritos is not coming out with non-crunchy chips for the ladies. Did you hear about this?
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, first of all, fake news, it turns out. But why would a woman want a mushy chip?
Yeah, I'm a big fan of crunchy chips.
Wait, back up. Mushy chips for women? Why were they doing that?
Well, I guess because women don't want to make noise with crunching. Yeah, we're more quiet, we're more delicate.
I think moist chips.
We want a good chip that doesn't crunch. But actually, that turns out to be fake news. Doritos is not coming out with a non-crunchy chip for the ladies. How do these things get started? That's just insane.
I'm trying to imagine what a non-chip chip would be. What is it?
I assumed it was soggy and mushy, which sounds absolutely unappealing to me. And I'm a lady. I would rather crunch it loud and say it proud.
Mm-hmm.
You with me, Ashley?
Totally.
Yeah.
Crunchier the better.
Right.
Yeah,
the louder the better.
And because that's a real national emergency right now. I mean, the number of loud, crunchy women throughout the restaurants of America is just, it's a crisis.
This is something that has been plaguing women, ever since the chip was invented. And,
in fact, I know that when I'm at a table with women and I hear some crunching, I immediately just roll my eyes and kind of nudge my male counterparts. Like,
yeah, right. You're like, oh my God, look at that. No one wants to date her. Not going to take her out on a date. She's hot, but watch her crunch that Dorito.
A little too crunchy. Kind of a ball-busting, crunchy-eating Dorito woman. I don't like it.
It makes you think ball buster. Crunch. Oh, that woman would be such a nag.
Just scold.
Right. So, I flew in from Hawaii last night, you guys.
Ooh.
And you know how a lot of times when you get home from vacation, you're kind of glad to be home? That doesn't work coming home from Hawaii.
Really?
It doesn't work.
So you were pressed.
I honestly don't know how long I would be there before I would be like, I really want to leave. You know what I'm saying? Like, I really want to go home.
If you go to Las Vegas after about 2 days, you're like, God, get me out of here.
Get me out of here, right? You could
Most places.
You could maybe do a week if you were like really a tourist and we're checking out all the hot spots in Vegas, but that's it.
Yeah.
Even like Paris. Okay, it's time to get out of this European city and get back to America.
Right. I want some Taco Bell now.
Yeah, or you just want to get back to your job or what you're doing that's fulfilling in life. You want your routine back because there's some stress involved with travel,
Mm-hmm.
But there's something about Hawaii it's kind of the anti-stress vacation.
Relaxing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
And
that's good.
There are more hippies there than you can imagine. And
shake a stick app?
I was going to say shake a stick app. I tried, trust me. I tried to shake my stick at though. But no, I live in the Bay Area, which is, there are a lot of hippies here. This is hippie central for the United States, for the mainland. And then you go to Hawaii and it's like, oh my God, there's so many hippies, but they're different. They're happy.
I was going to say, what kind of hippies are they?
They look like the same San Francisco hippies. They're overly tan, like it's either dirt or tan. And there I'm assuming it's tan. They're dressed in cheap Chinese-made peasant fabrics. The men have huge beards, everything's unkempt, hair, beards, everything. And actually, you can't tell a hippie from like just a surfer because they kind of look the same.
I was going to say, yeah, what's the difference between a surfer and a hippie?
I watched this guy giving surfing lessons to a young girl, and he's obviously gainfully employed giving surfing lessons. His hair and beard were the same length, and they were waist length. And they had like beads and everything in them. And he was dark-haired and kind of, I honestly couldn't tell what race he was. He was so tan. And his hair was kind of black and curly. So he could have been white or he could have been black. Mixed or something. Not full black. But I didn't know at all his status. And that's the thing about Hawaii. Like, you can't really tell. Does this guy live on the street? Or does he have like a cool pad overlooking the ocean? Like, they're all the same. But everybody's happy. Everybody's kind of positive. Everybody's friendly. There are moms sitting in the grass with their shirts off, just breastfeeding their children, just boom. And naked kids running around. It's kind of like the Garden of Eden, except probably those people smell a little.
Right.
I mean, if you're in the ocean every day, you don't really need to take a shower, right?
I think that's probably true. Do you think the salt water kills bacteria? I don't
Totally.
I don't know.
I'm going to say no. I think you want a little soap in there.
You can use sand pretty effectively on dirt.
Yeah, it's like an exfoliant, right?
Well, sand.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think sand gets BO off though.
Really? Have you tried?
No, I guess I stand.
You don't have any evidence for that arbitrary claim that you just made.
No, it sounded right.
Well, whales don't have BO, so maybe they just smell like fish. I
think you would smell like the ocean. I mean, you'd smell like fish and seaweed.
Yeah. So I guess it's a trade-off.
So what's going on there though? I mean, what are these people doing? They're breastfeeding and they're wandering around naked. I mean, do they have jobs?
I think they do have jobs.
Are they living on the beach?
Some are, and then you go into a store and the people there look just like the people on the beach. Like, everybody looks like a hippie. I mean, it's not over across the entire island. I was on Kauai, and that was mostly in Hanalei, which is arguably probably a big hippie place. But when we were on the south side of the island for the first half, and then we moved to the north side because it's way prettier. And we started out on the south side because everyone told me to go to the south side because it's rainy season and it would be less rainy on that side, but it just was raining all the time. So we're like, well, let's go to the north side anyway. Who cares? And we got there. There's just hippies everywhere. But they work there. They're friendly. They're not like angry hippies. So I actually was fine with them. Since I've been back, I live in California, and since I've been back, which I just got back last night, but like 1 a.m. we got home, I am freezing. I am so cold.
Oh, please don't even.
Oh, I know you guys are living in this crazy.
It's like 6 below here. So.
I know. It's so sad. I can't even imagine going from Hawaii to Minnesota like I used to do. And I didn't go to Hawaii very much. I went to Florida or other places. It's nice to be on the West Coast because Hawaii's more of an option. But it is so nice there. I mean, it was raining and it wasn't cold. Like, you're okay with being in the rain because it's kind of warm. Like a warm summer rain. So nice, you guys.
Does it have, I've never been to Hawaii. Does it have still an American state vibe, or is it completely foreign feeling?
No, it's totally American. There's nothing native about this place. Nothing.
Okay, all right, were you on the touristy island, or are you on one of those?
They're all like this. They're all just developed and resorty, and tourism's probably their number one industry, but they also had agriculture for a long time, and It's so Americanized, and it's kind of an interesting question. Like, why is Hawaii like that, but Puerto Rico is such a dump? And there's definitely some kind of cultural difference with the original natives. I'm reading the Mark Twain's. I don't know if you guys know this, but when Mark Twain was 30, before he was famous, he was sent to Hawaii by, I think it was the San Francisco Chronicle, and it was kind of like his first big gig.
Okay.
And so we're talking 1860s. And he took a steamer over to Hawaii. And so he was writing back, he was corresponding from the islands. He was there for 3-4 months or something and wrote what he saw and what it was like. And basically, I just started reading it on the plane. And I'm like, oh my God, he had basically the same experience. He just didn't want to leave. And everybody was friendly and everybody was naked. It was just like, it's it's still like that. But the natives were very pro-West and kind of they were into assimilation, and they were the biggest there were missionaries thick on the Hawaiian Islands, so that might be part of it. Like, they really got the kind of the American Puritan morality that we got, and the work ethic and stuff like that. And they Mark Twain, one of his comments was that the hardest thing that the missionaries the thing that they were having the most trouble with morally was the sexual promiscuity. And like, a boat would pull up and a horde of naked women would swim out to the boat.
That's funny.
Just like,
that's probably what it would be like if I got to Hawaii.
I'm sure it would be like that today for you, Doug. They would. Yes, it's every man's fantasy. But I'm trying to think.
I'd probably have to call ahead, but
what would it be like to be in a culture where, like, I'm a woman and I'm just looking for sex? Like, I just don't. I mean, maybe
it's very natural.
The millennial
That's
culture.
That's the way it should be.
The millennial culture is like that, but no, I'm just kidding. They're not even like that. They do that and then they hate themselves. But somehow, if you're a Polynesian woman, you do that and you're still like, hey, I'm awesome. In fact, the more you do it, the better.
Right. That's interesting.
It is interesting.
Well, yeah, I mean, they're trying to show off and get the alpha male, and they want to be.
It actually made them more desirable, probably, if that's one thing they couldn't break the traditions of the natives. So that's kind of interesting. It's an interesting book, and as far as like, there's still like the language is kind of there, and people everywhere you go, people say mahalo and aloha and stuff, and that's really, really nice. It kind of makes you want to learn Hawaiian. It's a really nice language. It sounds really pretty, and I don't know, it was great. If you really want the native experience, you have to pay to go to one of these luau's, and that's manufactured. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm sure it has a lot of traditional stuff, traditional dance, traditional foods, but it's kind of like almost Disney-like.
Wait, you're saying if you're a tourist and you pay to go to a luau, you're saying that's manufactured? I can't see how that would ever.
Yeah, they're not just spontaneously popping up on the beach, which I frankly don't understand, because who doesn't want that pulled pork, that buried in the dirt pig that comes out all cooked and delicious.
Yeah, it's very, very natural.
And the pineapple in Hawaii tastes different than anyone who's been to Hawaii knows this. The pineapple is insanely good, and it's just plentiful and delicious.
Now, I was thinking about the different types of hippies. I assume that they're not fat hippies.
No, not
These
a single
like
fat
hippie.
Well, how many fat hippies?
Types?
I don't see very many fat hippies here in the Bay Area.
I think that's the Midwestern variety of hippie, is sort of the fat guy.
I've seen a few.
That might be a Midwestern thing. If there are any chubby hippies in the Bay Area, they are the baby boomer woman hippie who, is like a spinster. That's kind of a type.
Okay.
But you don't see them on the street or anything. They're just weird.
These sound like responsible hippies, these people in Hawaii.
I don't know that they're responsible. I think they're living that kind of like free life, but you can live it there and it's pretty great. I think that's probably like.
Well, that's what I mean. You know, they've got kids. They can manage their lives.
You can live in a tent there pretty comfortably. The weather's great. The ocean is there. The sand. It's beautiful. You know, I mean, it's not that uncomfortable to be there and be in nature. It's just always comfortable to be outside. Mm-hmm. So it's a wonderful place. I recommend it. The interesting thing about, we were just talking about the food, the luau food and stuff. I really like Hawaiian food. I mean, I like making it. I make a lot of pulled pork. I make my favorite dish, Ashley knows this dish, is that Hawaiian pork from Num Num Paleo.
It's so good.
It's so delicious. And it's made, you make it with like some Hawaiian sea salt and some bacon, and you crock pot a big pork roast, and it's just amazing. And I was so
easy.
I was so looking forward to that, like pork, rice, pineapple bowl kind of thing that I'd be eating like every meal, you know? Not a single place sold something like that.
What kind of restaurants did you go to then?
Like every kind.
Oh,
but you
like TGI Fridays?
Okay, maybe not that kind. But you couldn't get traditional Hawaiian food anywhere.
You got the KFC $5
everybody's eating
Philip.
American there. All the restaurants are serving American. There's a lot of fish, which is nice, you know, and it's good fresh fish, well prepared. But other than that,
So they don't have like authentic Hawaiian restaurants and stuff all over?
You probably have to go to the luau for that, right?
Oh.
You have to go to the luau, turns out.
Okay.
Can you get a to-go box and have it for breakfast in the morning?
I know, right? I was like, I'll have to make my own Kahlua pig here in the crock pot in the rental house.
Oh, okay. So note, going to Hawaii, bring my crock pot.
Yeah,
Done.
Can you believe that? Can you believe that shit? Come on, Hawaii, get it together. We actually like your culture. We want to appreciate it. Make us some food, damn it. Mahalo, aloha. Screw you. All right, let's play some jokes. Unless you have any more questions about Hawaii. No more questions?
No.
All right, let's do some jokes. After jokes, we'll get in.
You're making me depressed, actually.
Am I? Is it really that cold and depressing there?
I want to go to Hawaii. No. Actually, the sun's out today, but it's deceiving.
No, I just want to see the naked women.
Swimming up to your boat.
Running to me as I deplane, yeah.
Well, so we got a few jokes, and thanks to everyone who's calling in jokes, because I like this segment. If you haven't done it yet, you should call now. Our number is 707-681-5834. We'll play it on the air. So far we've played every joke we've gotten, because there is no bad joke. There are no bad jokes. That's the philosophy of the House of Sunny, right? And you don't have to leave a joke either. You could ask a question.
We had to censor one joke last week, but that was it.
Oh, really? What for?
It started off, there are 5 Chinese guys pushing a cart or something like that. So. And
you went, whoa, racist.
Yeah, we had to stop it.
Maybe I should play that one.
We didn't know where it was going. Yeah, you could play it.
Right.
I didn't want to melt your show down in my first 3 minutes. So.
All right, well, I'm going to play that one first. I can see it here. I can see it here in the list. Let's play it. Here we go. Play.
Okay, what do you call 5 Chinese guys pushing a car?
Uh-oh.
It's yellow power.
Yellow power.
What do you call 5 white guys pushing a car? That's white power.
White power.
And what do you call 5 black guys pushing a car?
Black power.
Grand Theft Auto.
Oh. That is racist.
I told you.
All right, here's another one.
Hi, Sonny. Hope your vacation is doing.
Thank you. It's going really well.
Oh, boy. I had a train of thought wreck again.
Uh-oh. Get it together.
Yeah, joke.
Okay.
I guess when my daughter came and said, hey, Dad, what's a llama? And I said, well, I know a couple llamas. I said, they're the llama with a 1L, a 1L llama. A 1L llama is a holy man, like the Dalai Lama, right?
Yeah, got it.
And a 2L llama is like the animal. That's how you tell the difference. And a 3L llama is one hell of a fire.
3L llama is one hell of a fire. Okay. I don't get that. Does anybody get that? Like 5-alarm fire or 3L?
3-alarm? 3L
alarm. Okay. Fail. All right.
I don't get it.
Hi, Sunny. I love your show. Here's some jokes. What's the best thing about Switzerland? I don't know, but the flag is a big plus.
That's a good one.
What do you
That's a
call
good
it
one.
when
Oh, more.
Batman skips church? Christian Bale. Why don't they play poker in the jungle? Too many cheetahs.
Oh, that's a good one. Too many
I love that one.
cheetahs. Too many cheetahs in the jungle.
Too many cheetahs. Cheetahs. Awesome.
So, Jordan Peterson, how long has it been since we've had a celebrity intellectual? It's kind of cool. I'm reading his book. I was able to get into it in Hawaii a little bit more, but honestly, I didn't read much. It's hard to be productive in Hawaii. Like, you think you're going to read this book, and you just
You
can't.
were there for a week and you didn't even read the book.
I know, right?
What were you doing all day?
I think I read a chapter, right?
You read a chapter? What were
read
you
a
doing
chapter.
for like 8 hours a day?
I know. I don't
Just
know.
staring? Just looking around.
She was watching those guys paint their toenails.
Oh,
Making
right.
astute observations of the culture.
We mentioned on the last one that you had
Oh, yeah.
texted in a pro tip about a hairy
Oh, yeah.
guy painting toenails or something.
There was a woman, a woman who was very masculine and, by choice. And I first noticed her because she was filing her toenails at the pool.
Oh.
And I
Wow.
thought, that is so freaking
Ew.
gross. Like, you don't groom your toenails at the freaking pool. You just don't do that in public. That's disgusting. And then as I'm looking at her filing, I see that her legs are just super hairy. And now I'm just completely grossed out. And then I overhear her having a conversation. I don't know why you would even talk about this. And so not only is she doing this in public, but then in public she's speaking about the fact that she is filing off a bunion. So it wasn't even her nails. Like I think she was doing both. Ugh. I just wanted to I was gagging.
Oh, wait a second. Isn't that part of the Hawaii culture you just described?
This was
You
a
know,
tourist
people,
at the
naked
pool.
people breastfeeding on the beach.
This was a tourist
Okay.
at the pool. So
So-
this is a woman with, she needs finishing school. That's all I know. And then she's walking, at some point she gets out the red toenail polish, and then I'm laughing. I'm like, are you kidding me? You're so disgusting, and you're going to paint that red? Like, you're starting in the wrong end.
Well, yeah, that's...
And because I don't have an outlet and I don't want to bring everybody around me down, I was texting you guys. I'm like, woman at the pool, hairy legs.
It's kind of a version of the old saying of you can put a lipstick on a pig, but...
Yeah,
right?
it was literally lipstick on a pig. It was disgusting. Ladies, if you don't know this, and men too, don't groom your nails at the pool. All right.
This is like the signs where they tell employees they have to wash their hands after they go to the bathroom. Like, do we really need signs like that?
Do you really need a sign? I'm reading Jordan Peterson's book, 12 Rules for Life. This goes in mine.
That's 13.
That's Rule 13. God damn.
God. People are
Self-care
gross.
in the bathroom. Keep it in the bathroom.
That's rexia, too, which is something I described on the last show. The opposite of anorexia.
Yeah.
Where you're disgusting, but you think you look great.
Do they really think they look great? I think they're saying, I don't look great. Screw you. I'm going to put my ugliness in your face.
Yeah, I don't understand what that mentality is. I think it's sort of a disregard or apathy, or are they trying to actually willfully put it in your face, or do they just really not care?
Maybe
That's
both.
something I'm going to do at the pool.
Maybe both. That's what I did. You know, I put my pred face out there. People were horrified. But it does look better tan, I will say. Everything looks better tan.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right, so I'm reading this book, Jordan Peterson's new book, and there are 12 rules, and I was thinking maybe I would like talk about a rule a week because there's so much depth here.
Because that's how long it's going to take you to read it? How many rules did you actually get to? Should we just talk about rule 1?
I think I have read 4 rules at this point.
Rule 1, make good use of your time.
Well, that is rule 1, but I'll skip over that one.
Let me stare around the pool and think about that.
That's pretty good use of my time, just not doing anything, actually. That's pretty stress-free. But it's partly that because, you know, this is like a self-help book. It's not a but he is so deep and so intellectual that I feel like I'm reading a book on philosophy, but it's very normative. It's, you know, a self-help book, which honestly good philosophy should be. So I like to see that he's popular. He's really deep and really intellectual to the point that I struggle to follow him sometimes. And I'm not Christian, so I don't especially follow the religious stuff. He's religious, but he's not just religious. He's so educated about it that it's a little overwhelming to me. Like I feel like I have to go read 5 texts just to understand chapter 1. So I'm kind of skipping over some, you know, not skipping over, but if I don't fully get it, I just breeze past it and try to pull out what I think is important to understand about it. And there's a lot there, and you can really, I think his 12 rules are all good, and they're good rules for life. And he actually wrote many, many more of these rules and put them on like a Quora thing, and it became one of their most upvoted posts of all time. And that's how he got, this was years ago, and that's how he got the idea for this book. And he narrowed it down, narrowed it down to these 12. These are the 12 best. And then he wrote about them, and that's what you're getting. So he goes into so much depth on each one because he has so much information about history, religion, philosophy, and psychology that there's so much depth here. And
so is it hard to state one of his rules without all of that context?
No, it isn't. It isn't at all. The book could be a pamphlet if you want to take out all the explanation. But what he's trying to do is explain, this rule is important and here's why. And he gets into all this historical, like as a history of mankind, this is a thread going through our entire existence. And you look at this culture and this thing and that thing that shows that. So this is something you really need to pay attention to, and it's important. And, you know, he's trying to sort of validate these rules as universals, you know, on a real deep philosophic level. And he does that mostly experientially rather than like axiomatically. You know what I'm saying? It's definitely I'm looking out at the world and I'm seeing something, and therefore this is a good rule of thumb. This is something that, like, all of his rules are about, he validates them with this broad history of mankind and biology and what we know about biology and what religion, and he kind of treats religion as history of mankind, like a cultural thing. The stories are stories for a reason. They can't be dismissed. They shouldn't be dismissed, not because of faith or God, but because they're the story of humans and they have something to say to us. And then if you add to that modern scientific biology, then you can see that it validates these stories. So
right. That's why, I mean, there's a reason why mythology resonated with, you know, various cultures throughout the world for thousands of years. I mean, there's something universal about whatever the theme of those myths are that spoke to people and it was important. And he's right, you can never dismiss that. And that's why I think the history of religion is so, well, history in general, but particularly the history of religion is so important. And just to dismiss religion as foolish or stupid is a huge mistake.
It is
if you want to understand people.
And I do think that people, like everything else, we're not being educated in this. And separation of church and state is great, but if you say that you can't talk about religions in school, I think you are depriving kids of the history of mankind. I mean, because
Right.
for all
Absolutely.
of mankind, that's been a big part of it. And it is a philosophy, and man needs philosophy. And you have to have a guide to your life, or you're happier when you have a guide. And today, all of that's been thrown out, and people are floundering. And it's true. And I'm not saying that we should bring back, Christianity in some sort of big way, but, and anyway, it is big. It's still huge. I guess what I'm trying to say is,
You can't understand the history of the West without understanding something about the history of Christianity.
yeah, and I'm completely
God.
ignorant of it. I mean, I was raised in inner city schools. They didn't teach us anything about religions of the world. At some point I kind of dabbled in religion and did read the Bible, but I don't really remember it too much, and I wasn't given any education.
I read the Bible, but I just don't really remember it.
It's kind of
It's a
complex.
great line.
It's kind of complex. You kind of need a teacher, and like anything else, I think. But I do know some of the stories. Anyway, so he's so deep about it, and I think that's good. But you can state all of his rules. He has,
What's one rule?
Okay, so let's talk about rule 1. And I'm actually just going to read his description of it, because it's stand up straight with your shoulders back. That's rule 1. And then he gets into what he means by that. And he brings in like that hierarchy is a thing. It's a thing among all animals. And so your success and happiness, in fact, your biological happiness, in other words, like the serotonin in your body, but how the world responds to you, where all of your happiness and success depends on where you fit in this hierarchy. Mm-hmm. So if you're low, if the scale is 1 to 10, that's the scale that he uses. If you're 1, you're the most miserable people on the planet. If you're 10, you're the happiest. And I'm not sure I totally believe that, because I think of like people who win and attain wealth and power and stuff are not happy people if they get it through some sort of dishonest means.
But does he say happy, or does he distinguish confidence and pride and this idea of someone who stands up straight,
he
being
talks about
independent,
confidence.
self-reliant? Is that equated with happiness? Because it's not necessarily the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, he talks
It's
about
related.
confidence. He says, when you lose, when you start your, like let's say you have a setback in life, you start to droop. Your posture kind of gives way. You isolate yourself. Your serotonin gets low, and then you have this negative feedback loop. I mean, there's actually biological stuff going on in your nervous system.
Sure.
And
Absolutely.
And then you begin to radiate loser, and the world responds. And then you go down another rung, and you get less serotonin.
It's a spiral.
It's a negative spiral. And I believe this, and it's funny because I actually,
Shame spiral.
well, I mean, if you listen to Donald Trump, winning is really important. But I think it is, and I think that, in my household, we kind of refer to this as momentum. We've talked about it in that sense. We always have, like, we need positive momentum. When things start to go bad, we're like, we're getting some negative momentum here. We've got to get some positive momentum, because you always feel better when you're moving forward. And so he says, physically, biologically, stand up straight, shoulders back, speak your mind, put your desires forward. Like, basically, act with confidence, act like a top dog, even if you're not. And those physical motions will speak things to the world. You'll get positive feedback. You'll get yourself into a positive loop. So he thinks, just like you've heard this, where if you smile, you actually release the chemicals that happen when you legitimately smile.
The world smiles with you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's like a Coca-Cola slogan, Doug. I don't think that's...
What?
I'd like to buy the... You know how many times I have sung Puff the Magic Dragon this last week? So I'm really into those 70s folk songs right now.
That was supposedly about smoking weed, right?
Well,
Did you
that's
know?
a rumor, but it's not true. I wikied that a few days ago.
Well, then you've set everything straight.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Yeah, anyway, so the rule is it's more complicated than just stand up straight. And I'll read to you, like,
Of course.
at the end of every chapter, he does a really nice sum up, because you feel like when you're reading the chapter, like, where's he going with this? What the hell is he talking about? And, like, he does tie it up in the end. And so I'll just read the last little paragraph here. He says, so attend carefully to your posture. Quit drooping and hunching around. Speak your mind. Put your desires forward as if you had a right to them, at least the same right as others. Walk tall and gaze forthrightly ahead. Dare to be dangerous. Encourage the serotonin to flow plentifully through the neural pathways, desperate for its calming influence. So that is rule 1.
Beautiful.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's true. I like, he talks a lot about being dangerous. And you don't hear a lot of people validating anger and danger and, like, that side of your personality. And Jordan Peterson's kind of a dark guy. And he studies the sort of dictators and the crazy atrocities of our society.
Yeah.
And I mean, really studies it, because for him...
Well, he's a clinical psychologist.
He's a clinical psychologist, but he has this particular interest in, like, why did that happen? Why did the Holocaust happen? How do people get to that point where they're murdering people, mass murdering people, and that they're just kind of doing it? What is it that causes that? And so he's particularly interested in that. His take on life is a little malevolent. It's like, life is suffering. Here's how you can make the best of it, you know? I think that there's some truth in this. You can't grow up and think that life is going to just be this, like, perfect rosy thing, because then you're not equipped to deal with life when you do have setbacks. And life is just it's a series of good things and a series of bad things. You're not going to escape life without having some setbacks, you know?
Well, it's a constant struggle.
It is a constant struggle. I think the default position is living on the beach in Hawaii naked. And so if you want anything better than that, you got to, like, work for it. You got to struggle for it.
Well, even if you're laying on the beach, though, unless someone is going to drop a fish in your mouth periodically, I mean, you got to do something.
Yeah, you have to exert effort, and there are going to be obstacles in your way, and maybe, you know, a shark's going to eat off a foot, and so you still got to eat. So you got to figure it out.
I mean, if it wasn't for civilization, those hippies would not be having a real good time. They'd be having to prepare for their next meal, and they'd have to be making sure, you know, their shelter is equipped for whatever's coming. And, you know, I mean, it would be a constant life or death struggle.
Yeah.
That's the way life is.
So life really is, it's not super dark or anything. It's just that it requires effort, it's struggle. Bad things happen to people all the time. Heartbreak, illness, whatever. Death, you know. People that you love die. So you can either kind of, like, crouch and slouch when these things happen and give up and blame other people, or you can kind of work your way through it. But he talks about anger, and he talks about being dangerous, being a good thing. I think more so in later chapters. He has a chapter about kind of, like, surrounding yourself with good people, and that a lot of that means getting rid of crappy people, standing up for yourself. But in this chapter about standing up straight, he talks a lot about being tough and being the alpha, you know, of your life, like asserting yourself and being a little dangerous. He uses that word a lot. I like that.
Do you know what he mean? Does he mean, like, be less risk averse? I mean, does he mean...
I don't think so. I think he means stand up for yourself. You know, don't let people think that they can just walk all over you, because they will.
Mm-hmm.
And then you'll become and he has this whole lobster analogy. And then you'll become like the low lobster who doesn't get the good shelter and doesn't get the good food, and who the ladies don't want to swim naked to. And
well, I just know from my own experience that people that are less risk averse tend to be more, I don't know if you even want to say successful. I would definitely say successful, but they're certainly more happy in that they're willing to take risks, they're willing to fail, and they're always sort of in control of what they're doing. I mean, even if they're not always succeeding, and no one succeeds all the time,
Right.
but they're trying, and they're trying to make their dreams reality, and there's life in that. You know, there's greatness in that. Whereas
That
people
is
that
life.
are
Yeah.
people that are more risk averse, that are always worried about what could happen, or don't want to take the chance, or they're kind of stuck in a rut because they don't want to take a chance, or they don't want to fail. I mean, it's sort of cliched, but it's absolutely true. I mean, if you're that way, I just don't see how you could. You could certainly have a fine existence, and you could certainly find happiness in that level of stability. And I think everyone's a little bit different. It's a matter of degree, but certainly people that I guess I haven't even read the book. I know nothing about what you're saying, but this idea of danger, to me, that's what I think of when I think of danger. I think of,
Well, he's not saying seek out danger, although maybe he does in a later chapter in terms of like taking risks. What he's saying is be dangerous. Be okay with being dangerous. Like connect with that part of you that has the capacity for hurting people. I mean, he actually explicitly says that. Like you as a human being have a capacity to hurt people. And this is where I don't necessarily agree with him so much. I mean, he doesn't think there's a lot of difference between a capacity for self-defense and a capacity for hurting other people. So he says tap into that, understand that, and control it, you know?
mm-hmm.
But he says dare to be dangerous, because if you're just like, if you say, I can't hurt anybody, like especially for women, we're not supposed to offend, we're not supposed to hurt, we're not, you know. And I'm not saying women should go out there and be ball busters, and I don't think that's what he's saying either. But he's just saying, don't be afraid to say no and be tough.
Well, doesn't honesty and independence require that? And it's very hard. I think it's one of the hardest things in life is to be difficult and say no when you need to.
Yeah, it's hard.
It's very hard, especially when it's a friend or relative, anyone. It's hard. Yeah. I have a natural, proclivity to want to agree, to be agreeable, to get along.
Or let things go because you don't want the conflict. And
that's fine too. I mean, there's time and a place, but
right.
I can definitely see why if you made that a habit of being kind of a pushover, then it would be very negative. I could see it being very negative psychologically.
You can definitely see that there's something wrong in the world with, and I honestly, I don't know. It'd be interesting to talk to Jordan Peterson about this. It seems like all the good, reasonable people aren't really dangerous enough. And we're being sort of led by the nose politically, in our families, in work environments, by the more dangerous people, the people who are willing to be assholes.
Mm-hmm.
And I've often wondered this, like, why are the assholes the one that everybody listens to and follows around? You know, why is the mean girl, why does she have friends?
Yeah, the bad boy always gets the girl.
Why is the person, the toxic mother...
Ashley's laughing.
Why is the toxic mother... What did you just say? I was like...
I said the bad boy always gets the girl. And I heard Ashley snickering.
She knows about that.
She loves the bad boy.
We've all loved the bad boy, Doug.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but he actually he talks about that, like the girls going after the big lobster, the big asshole lobster who beats up on all the other lobsters.
It's true.
So, but like I see this everywhere. I see it in politics. You know, the SJWs are running the universities, and you just know that most people at the university are like, I don't mind if Milo Yiannopoulos comes here and speaks and has something to say. Like, that doesn't bother me. But there's that 100 or 200 people on a campus of 50,000 who say, nope, not happening. We're gonna tear it down. And everybody else just kind of gets out of their way.
Yeah, totally.
The good people, 250 years ago when we fought a revolution, we were dangerous. Americans were dangerous.
Yeah. Well, isn't there like a primordial attachment in a group dynamic to the person that's most scary is the person you want to associate with. They're the person that's in control. They're the person that everyone fears. So that's the person you instinctively
alpha
gravitate
dog.
to. Right, right. The pushover, the nice guy, isn't who everyone wants to be with.
Yeah, so I think that he has a really good point, and I think, I don't want to be an asshole, but I do think that, like, if there's some toxicity in my family, I should call it out and not stand for it. If there's somebody at work who's the squeaky wheel being a jerk, I mean, maybe you should rock the boat. I remember feeling in corporate America like the number one rule was don't rock the boat. That was like tattooed on everybody's freaking cube. That's the last thing that you wanted to do. And I think that's a huge mistake. Like, it's just a stifling environment.
That's why they're all in a cube.
Right.
In the first place.
That's why I got the hell out of there. I couldn't stand that lifestyle. I really couldn't. I'm too mouthy.
Get out of your cube.
Yeah.
That's rule 2. Get out of the cube.
Get out of the cube.
Don't work in a cubicle. Oh my God. Under fluorescent lamps. That is the opposite of Hawaii, right there. If that's, Hawaii's on one end of the spectrum, that's on the other.
Well, don't they use fluorescent lamps as grow lights? So maybe you're a little off there. You grow weed under fluorescent light, right?
You tell me, Doug. I don't grow weed.
I wouldn't know.
You live in California.
It's true. I could grow weed, but I don't until Sessions decides to crack down on my weed supply.
Yeah, he's on it.
He's really on this drug thing. Anyway.
Yeah, stupid.
We'll see. We'll wait till he does something.
So, anyways, it's a good book.
So that's chapter 1. I mean, it's worth reading. Next week I'll tell you about chapter 2, which is I'll just read the rule to you, and then we'll get into it next week. Treat yourself like someone you are responsible for helping. I mean, none of these are like earth-shattering. Like that rule I've heard before in the form of treat yourself like your friend. Ashley, right? Like women are told this all the time.
Right.
So that's a really good rule, especially for women. I don't think women, and probably mothers in particular, do not treat themselves like they would treat a friend or somebody.
That's absolutely true.
And by the way, men, if your wife, the mother of your children, is doing that, you really need to push her to take care of herself and give her that permission. I know that it's a role that if men would take this on, it would make so much difference. Not just in your, forget your wife's happiness, your happiness. If you want to go golfing on Saturday, make sure your wife feels like it's okay to do whatever it is she wants to do for an afternoon. And honestly,
I'm gonna push back against this.
The only way that I can ever get into my own head and be about myself, the only way since I had a child is to be away from her. I have to be out of the room, out of the house,
miles away from
them.
them.
I can't do it with her around. I'm like biologically compelled. I don't know what it is. I'm the most selfish person on earth. And around her, I cannot even get my brain totally on my own person. I'm in the shower and I'm watching the clock. Like, I gotta hurry. What is she doing? I gotta, like, I'm responsible. And I can't get it out of my head. So it's really, really important, guys. All right. We have like 12 minutes left. I want to get into this MEMO thing, which we haven't talked about. It happened the MEMO was released while I was on vacation. And I don't know if I have like a new take on it or anything, but I was just kind of reflecting that, this thing, I heard a thing today that there's an email from those FBI agents that were having an affair where they're actually talking about how Obama knew everything. And
right.
So
you wanted to know everything about it.
And you just know, like, Hillary is out there walking around. She's still walking around. She's not in prison. She's not even embarrassed. And the Democrats are doing everything they can to twist the narrative so that, the Democrats aren't touched. And, I grew up in a post-Nixon presidency. And I remember thinking as a child and young person that I live in this great country where we have rule of law, and even the president can't get away with breaking the law. even the president. And here we are today. I mean, just shame on the Democrats.
Well, I would not. I think the shame goes to the mainstream media, because you could understand that the Democrats would scurry and try and cover their ass in the midst of, I think, one of the biggest scandals we've ever uncovered. And the fact that the mainstream media is acting as this sort of like Praetorian guard for the Democratic Party and not even covering it or dismissing it. And actually, the sickest thing I think I've seen, I don't know, maybe in my lifetime from the media, them actually wanting the committee not to release the memo. They were arguing for less information. The media. These are the people.
The media who's always clamoring for transparency and more information and stories. Well, they don't want the story
out, right?
They don't want the story.
The Washington Post got the Pentagon Papers.
Right. Oh, how noble.
The noble intransigent journalist fighting the man and getting the government to release information.
Yeah, and how can they look themselves in the face? That movie is out there, and they're just congratulating themselves about how noble they are that they brought down Nixon. Meanwhile, we don't want to see this. We certainly don't want to see anything bad about Obama and Hillary.
Don't look at it. Don't let anyone see this.
Yeah.
Please do not show us this information. Please.
And they are just taking the Democrat talking points, which are, first they said the memo was going to violate national security. Turns out that was total bullshit.
Total.
Then they said anyone calling out the FBI for being corrupt is harming our national security and working for Putin.
Yeah.
Okay,
right.
So if you're concerned about the rule of law to the point that you don't want the goddamn law people to be corrupt, that is harming the rule of law.
Yeah, how dare you demand oversight?
The logic is so freaking twisted. I don't even get how, and the media has that's all they print, and they don't print anything else.
Well, it goes to show you, I don't know if the media would have been this hypocritical 10, 20, 30 years ago, but it certainly shows you that, when you watch this movie about the Washington Post, they're not congratulating themselves for doing their job as journalists and uncovering the truth. They were doing their job as left-wing operatives and bringing down a Republican president.
That's right.
That's their real goal, and that's their real job, not
You're
the
right.
truth.
That is the new lens.
Not the rule of law.
That is the new lens that I look at the Nixon, resignation through. I know that it's not like I live in a country where both parties at least, that we have these shared values. We don't have any more shared values. We have no shared values with the Democrats.
It's just pure power for them.
It is pure power for them. And maybe there are Republicans for which that is true as well. But my God. And the fact that they have the whole media in their pocket is really dangerous. And now, so you call out the FBI for being corrupt, and the left is saying, you Republicans are supposed to be for the rule of law. The Republicans colluded, they say the Republicans collude with Russia, which Hillary has done, among other things. I mean, the Democrats are the party of projection. Everything they say, they're doing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the only collusion with Russia was committed by
Hillary Clinton.
The Hillary Clinton's campaign.
And if you say the Trump investigation is a witch hunt, you are a Russia lover. If you want Hillary investigated for her actual Russian connections, you're a Russia lover. If you like mayo on your ham and cheese, you're a fucking Russia lover.
Right. It's McCarthyism.
And then Congressman Schiff recently said, if you like our Second Amendment, you're a Russia lover.
Oh, that was the best one. Did you hear that? He was actually claiming that the Russian, they with a capital T, these Russian operatives, their great conspiracy was to promote the Bill of Rights, the Second Amendment, so that we'll all shoot each other.
Yeah. Oh, they love your Second Amendment because we're all shooting each other. Oh, okay, let's get rid of the Second Amendment then. Should we get rid of the first one too because we're all, at each other's throats? I'm sure Russia loves that. So Republicans just give up now because you're racist Russian moles intent on destroying the rule of law and upholding the Bill of Rights.
Yeah, that's about it. I think we can end there.
Oh my God. I mean, and this is kind of an aside. I'm an objectivist. Doug's an objectivist. Ashley, you're not, but whatever. You're lucky.
I don't know. I don't know what I am.
Count your freaking blessings. All right, objectivists. This is just for you. Like, a lot of my listeners are conservatives, so they don't care. They don't give a shit about objectivist infighting. Or libertarians. This could also be for libertarians. The left is the enemy. Period. End of story. This is my new thing that I feel like we all need to understand, because I'm seeing all this disagreement. And I think that the fundamental difference between me and objectivists that I disagree with on politics is that understanding. That, like, kind of what this war is that we're in. And I really do think that we really are heading for some sort of civil war, because the left is just completely gone.
Right. And go ahead.
No, well, okay. And I was going to say, the common argument is, no, it's not the left. It's a weak right. That's the more serious problem. But if that's true, then get into the right and fix it. I mean, if you're going to be the more tough, dangerous right, get on the right and goddamn fix it, because that's the only chance you have. I mean, right now is a great time because the right is completely in flux. Mm-hmm. And we have this old establishment that's more like the Democrats, and they're kind of hated. You have these new elements and stuff. Now is the time to get in and have a voice. And and instead you have these objectivists pandering to the left, with the Trump hatred and stuff. And I'm not a Trump. I don't know. I can't even say that anymore. I want to choke when I say I'm not a Trump fan.
Yeah.
I don't want to qualify what I'm saying here. I will criticize Trump. I don't have that disease where I can't criticize him. I was not happy when he won the primary. And I've had to say that 50 times. I feel like I have to say that just to have some credibility, which makes me kind of sick at this point.
Right.
I don't,
Shouldn't have to.
I shouldn't have to say it. But,
no, I think the other side should have to say it at this point.
Yeah. Yeah, they have to start saying it.
I really oppose Trump, but, I guess he hasn't been so bad.
Yeah.
Should almost be the other way. But, Ayn Rand herself even talked about the fact that she actually didn't want an objectivist movement. She was against it and thought that you should really focus on very concrete political goals at this point, that was where, the effort should be made. And, when you look out at what's going on, particularly with the left today, and, while we try and, push.
And by the left, we're not talking just Democrats, although that is the political wing of the left. We're talking about the media.
I'm talking about the progressive left, the identity politics, the people that are shouting down speeches, that are pushing for free speech, that are anti-free speech, that want the government to regulate speech. These are some of the most dangerous trends I think we've seen in our lifetime, right. And they're gaining power.
They're gaining
ground. They are.
There's some great pushback now, but
of followers, through their presence in the universities. I mean, even if you're a not a very intellectual person, you can't go through a university today and come out without some residue of identity politics and progressive.
And that's proven by looking at some objectivists. Who
Absolutely.
I look at them and I think, where did you get your cultural Marxist propaganda? They've absorbed it, and they're even using the words, the vocabulary of the left. I don't want to name names, but I'm just kind of I'm constantly shocked, and the mainstream media is the left. They don't have any credibility. If you want news, if you want to know what's going on, you have to go somewhere else. And it's pathetic. And this is this MEMO thing and this FBI stuff is a perfect example of that.
No, it's literally like night. It's like night and day. If you actually study the memo and you go to sources where you actually read the memo and you find the evidence, and go on Fox News or any conservative sort of leaning site and get information about what's going on this scandal, and then go to CNN or the New York Times, It is like we are inhabiting
incredible.
two different universes.
Yeah, it really is.
It's not even like, well, okay, there's this. They all agree there's a scandal, but these people say this is a little more important than that, and this is a little more important than that. It's not. I mean, it's like they're not even reporting it on one side. It's like it's not even happening.
Yeah, it was the same. I noticed that with the Benghazi thing. It was like 4 days after it happened, and CNN still hadn't covered it. Like an ambassador was killed, and like a major firefight, and and CNN didn't cover it for almost 4 days. It was crazy. And then when they finally did, it was all the narrative. It was this filmmaker. Then they put him in prison. And, no media person ever, no mainstream media person ever freaked out that a filmmaker was put in prison.
Could you imagine if the RNC had opposition research that they had gotten from Russian operatives, and they had put together this salacious dossier on Hillary Clinton using Russian operatives, and they had then used that dossier to secure a FISA warrant
to investigate
a Republican through Bush's Justice Department to investigate and spy on the Hillary campaign, and that this was all coming out in the media. Could you imagine
not
the media
only the campaign, but then a sitting president?
Right. Then she wins, and they're still trying to undermine her through
an investigation,
independent counsel
with
investigation.
No crime. Just an ongoing investigation with no initial crime that they can point their finger at. I mean, this is freaking insane. I can't believe this is happening. And, like, what do we do? Like, the people who are on my side are not dangerous enough. We're not. But what do we do? We're not these idiots who take to the streets and, like, and wear pussy hats. That's just not who we are, and I don't think that that's even effective, really. I mean,
no, I don't think we're take it to the streets in that kind of mode yet, but it's getting close. I think there's enough going on legally, from what I can tell, in terms of the congressional investigations. I mean, it's happening slowly, but there is pressure, and I think some of the investigative journalists that have stayed on this case, like Sarah Carter, should get a Pulitzer Prize.
Oh my God!
Because she's been on this for over a year. I mean, they've been following this, and it's the same thing with Judicial Watch. Those guys are heroes.
Judicial Watch, they really are. And to that point, so what can we do? Give them money. Judicial Watch, I think they're a nonprofit. I mean, but also the cultural heroes, the people on the right who are standing up against the free speech issues, Dave Rubin. Even Milo Yiannopoulos, buy his show even if you don't want to watch it. I think that you can dislike him, whatever. He's kind of I don't know.
Any pushback against the left. Fund it. We're the people who don't go to the street because we have jobs, we have families. You don't want to fight this fight. You don't want to put your families at risk. You don't have time for this shit. But you are going to wake up in 20 years and you're not even going to recognize your country. It's going to be gone. No free speech. I mean, just look at all the other countries in the world, and you can see where they're at, and that's where people are on trial. People on trial for
speech,
criticizing Islam.
Yeah.
I mean, that's happening. That's happening in London. It's happening in Canada.
Yeah.
We're next,
I just saw a story out of Sweden where the gay rights parade was attacked by Antifa because they wandered into a Muslim neighborhood.
Oh.
They took a wrong turn or something on the parade route, and so Antifa showed up and beat up a bunch of gay people.
Are you kidding?
No, I'm not kidding. Like, it's crazy.
Well, now they're eating their own. There was a video I saw of these feminists that crashed of like a Muslim convention where these feminists went up with their shirts off, like topless women, and then the Muslims attacked the feminist women. I mean. I think it's getting to the point where they're starting to eat their own. That's always a good sign. Let's push them that way.
Well, I just don't want to know who wins. That's my fear. But
someone's going to win.
Someone's going to win. The more dangerous one will win.
Yep.
The bigger lobster. Thanks, everyone, for joining us today. It's a real pleasure to know that you tune in, week out to hear my little show. If you'd like to support us, go on over to patreon.com/House of Sunny and become a member of our Elite Squad. We have some fantastic rewards. Speaking of which, I'll be doing a live stream for Elite Squad members soon. I've been limited by the technology. I'm trying to work it out. Patreon itself doesn't let me live stream right off their site, so I have to figure out where to connect, where it will be the best for everyone. So I'm still working on that. And everyone, in the meantime, have a great rest of your week and weekend, and we'll talk next week.
Thanks for listening to the House of Sunny podcast. Go check out Sunny on YouTube at her channel, House of Sunny. Everything Sunny does is fan-funded, and because she's likely to get kicked off and demonetized on every platform at some point, please support her over at patreon.com/House of Sunny. Become one of Sunny's Elite Squad and have access to behind-the-scenes footage, t-shirts, special events, and more.